Good morning. I'm Bill Zortman, and welcome to the first, mind you, of our report card shows for 2022. Yes, it's a year, and it has been an interesting year, but what about the coming year? As we were preparing the show with the leaders of the Real Estate Association and the home builders as well as the bankers, we're seeing some trends that are already changing things. But let's start moving the needle 2022 with a keynoter. Tony Bachman, you've been doing this 8 or 10 years now.
Time flies and we're having fun, Bill. And, boy, anytime I'm spending time with you, it's fun. So, yes.
Well, now, as you were explaining to this young lady who is new to the show, she is the transition between the first segment and the second segment. You want to introduce her?
Yep. So we have our new raised president. So, and you have to tell me your last name.
It's Anne Ferrell.
I
recently got married, name. So it's really shocking.
Yeah, I knew you as and I knew you had changed names. So anyway, welcome to the show. And you're not new to this. You've been doing this. I mean, time wise. I mean, how long have you been in the real estate industry?
Almost 10 years.
Yeah. So
10 years, yeah.
Similar to me. I've been in since 2008. So we'll have plenty to talk about over the next few months.
Absolutely.
All right, there's all kinds of stories out there this morning. We're still waiting on the building permit final, which is going to show how much over $1 billion we went and if we're going to do it. Butch is working that this morning. He promises figures in this half hour, but he's promising to talk to me in the 10 o'clock hour. If that's convoluted enough, great way to start the new year.
It's going to be perfect. It'll work just the way it's supposed to, Bill.
All right, you did all this work. You even sent it by a means that I couldn't open. And I had to call 3 people to figure out how to can opener into what you sent me. But for the most part, what were you sending? Why is it important?
So, like we say, this is the monthly report. So we're talking, a lot of times when we're talking about the monthly report, we're comparing, the previous month, like December of 2021 to December of 2020. But since it's kind of the year-end report, we're also kind of encapsulating some of those numbers in. How did that compare from the year of 2020 to the year of 2021? So there's a lot of numbers, lots to unpack. We won't get to all of them, but we'll just try and hit as many of the highlights as possible. So,
and your job is to jump in wherever you want, just like a woman would do, and say, please, you have to understand from our perspective what's going on. You don't mind doing that?
I can jump in where needed.
And you get to do that twice this morning.
Twice. All right.
All right, Tony, get us started.
All right. So when we talk about new listings, for example, because listings are a metric that we're going to be living by here moving forward over the next, year or so. And really that is probably the metric that's going to dictate how our market will do overall, moving forward. So new listings in December, we've seen a decrease of December listings in 2021 from 2020 by 25%.
So what's 25%? Is that a big deal, or is that in a growing trend?
Well, yeah, no, good question. So in 2020, we had just about 300 listings. In 2021, we basically only had 224 listings.
224 over how wide an area, so the audience understands.
Yeah, through our Realtors Association of the Sioux Empire, which encompasses basically, let's just say, roughly about a 50-mile radius of Sioux Falls. Those are the listings for that whole. And also, when we talk about listings in this generic mode, we're not only talking about homes, condos, twin homes, but we're also talking about lands and lot and that sort of thing. Sure. So, because that's a dynamic, we need to have lots to sell so builders can build, and so that kind of brings it all together as one, So that being said, we're down 25% this year from last year. But in the same token, we compare the year from 2021 to 2022. 2021 only shows that we were down 7.3%. So it's quite a dichotomy from the 25% down. But here's the thing that is kind of interesting when we're taking a look at, it's amazing because we have our pending sales. Our pending sales were up. We had pending sales in December when we compared December from last year to this year is 30.6%. And then when we compare pending sales for the year of 2021 to 2022, or excuse me, 2021 to 2020, we were still up 4.5%. So we achieved actual, higher pending sales even with a market of less homes out there.
And when you start listening to him, what's it doing to the people on the street, the people that want to be into the housing business but maybe feel with these kind of numbers they can't?
I think it's really critical that people understand they can, but they need to have a game plan. They need to be working with their realtor and their lender so that all three are on the same page and know exactly what is it going to take to make sure that I'm ready to go. When you come to the floor ready to buy, you know what you can afford to spend. You know what you can afford to spend over if necessary. Your agent knows exactly what your desires are, and you're working as a team. We can get it done. It's just that it's going to take a little longer. And I think it's really critical that people recognize that we've got to take the emotion out of it and know that part of the process might be that you put an offer in on 2 or 3 homes before you get the one that's meant to be for you.
It's a well-prepared team.
Absolutely.
If you're well-prepared, you have a chance to win.
You do. And I think this is where working with a realtor is so critical because we communicate with each other all the time in addition to having the MLS. So we have a good feel for what's out there, for what's coming, how to be prepared. We have an insight that makes a world of difference, and we know how to work those contracts.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the part where we say we try to take the emotion out of it, there's always going to be emotion in this process, but we are actually counseling our people. Not only are realtors, but sometimes we feel like counselors because when we bring them in for the buyer consultation, we say, here's what you need to be prepared for. Here's what the market is doing. And so, we might find that. I always use the analogy of going to Humane Society and finding that puppy or looking for a puppy and we find one.
Right.
But you may not be able to take home that puppy that you really want the first time. So, we'll get there. I mean, we've had, and I'm sure, Anne, you probably experienced this too, where I've had clients where in 2021 we had one client that made 8 offers and finally got their house on the 9th offer. That's not normal. It's not normal, but it's not uncommon to have 2 or 3 where you make 2 or 3 offers as a buyer, and it's the 3rd or 4th one that you finally are able to accomplish. So,
well, it is, and I've always told my clients too, and I had it come back to me time and again. Not getting your first or second one isn't necessarily bad because I've never had a client upset with the one they got. They're always, wow, there's a reason why I got this one. It is. So hang on.
All right. Now, Tony does a little more homework than you and I do. Okay?
You think?
For this show. Okay, and I work really hard on this show because every time somebody changes a name, I have to go back and retype. But for the most part, you went back 10 years ago.
I did.
Do you want to mention that and how it affects us today?
Yeah, so, when we're talking about the metric of, the new listings and inventory and that sort of thing, I mean, so when we were looking at the inventory levels right now and just talking about the inventory levels home for sale, and we look at last December to this December, we had 1,091 homes. This December, we had 624, which is basically about a 43% reduction. So basically, buyers out there have only 53% of the homes that there was last year to look at and make offers on. And then the thing that I thought was amazing is when we're still looking at pending sales are still up. I mean, they're up 30%, and pending for the year was up, even though we had less homes. But here's where this dynamic comes in is when you were saying the numbers of going back 10 years. I was looking at, so we talk about months supply of inventory. And when we say X amount of months supply inventory, that we're talking about if we sold everything that was on the MLS that was currently active and at the rate that we're selling homes, how long would that take? So back 10 years ago, that in December, that dynamic would have been 6.4 months of supply, which, wow. I mean, and we were used to seeing that. I think, Anne, when you came in, it was pretty standard, 4 or 5 months. Mm-hmm. December of 18, 3.4 months. December of 19, 3 months. So we're seeing a trend here, right? December of 2020 is 2.4 months. And that's considered hysterically low, bar none. Okay, here we are, 2021. Let's blow your minds. 1.3 months of inventory. That's basically, a month and 10 days of inventory if not another house came on the market, which we know is not going to happen. But if it did and we sold out at the rate we're selling, we'd be out of inventory. We'd all be out of business, I guess,
Well, it used to be years ago. You said 2008 when you got into business?
Yeah, 2008.
We used to say the wintertime's the time of year to buy the home because there's nobody else in the marketplace.
Yeah, no, seasonality.
It's changed.
Real estate, used to live on seasonality. We always kind of had some trends. We knew that the second quarter of the year was the quarter that the most new listings would come out, that sort of thing. I will say this year, just given what we have, I think our first quarter of this year is where we're going to see the most new listings come out for 2022. So,
wow.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. The seasonality is a historic benchmark now, and we can attribute that to a lot of different things, whether it's COVID. But I think technology has a lot to do with it. And now all of a sudden, people realize that how important their homes are because of COVID, being at home, the dynamic, making sure that they have a home that fits their family, and the other thing that was just brought up yesterday, I was listening to Kristi Noem speak, with on Fox News. And we're listed as one of the top 3 states that people are moving to. Mm-hmm. So
makes it even more complicated.
We feel it.
Yeah,
we feel it. Yeah.
All right. Last advice you're going to give the new presidents, Anne Ferrell, John Beach. What would you tell them before they come on together for the first time?
Well, I just think that, we've been doing this for a number of years, and we've been blessed to have some very talented leaders. And we will, again, be blessed to have leaders that have been in the business for a number of time. I mean, John Beach, he comes from lineage. His dad was Charlie Beach. I worked with Charlie back in the 80s and 90s, and so I look forward to working, with John. And I've known for, 10 years plus, working in the business. And I think to Anne's point about when we all talk together, right. I think this is the part with real estate. We're working for our clients. We're working for our customers. The more dialogue that we can all have amongst ourselves, the better off we will be as an organization and as individual agents.
All right, Beach is waiting patiently. He wants to call to the bullpen. We'll see if he can come in. Anne's going to stay on the mound. We'll do a little pitching when we come back.